Hi y'all and Happy New Year! If you are new to my channel, my name is Morgan. I love to share my recipes with y'all and all things food. For today's video, I'm going to be sharing a baked chicken mushroom and rice dish. This one's great to make during the week. You can also prep it ahead of time so that we have a full casserole that's ready to go in the oven. Most of the ingredients you might already have on hand, so if you would like to see how to make this dish, please keep watching and I'll show you what you need to start. First thing you'll want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees, and while it's getting to temperature, we can start seasoning the chicken. Getting started with the chicken seasoning, I have 1.5 pounds of chicken breast tenders to start. I like to use these for the casserole. I feel like it cooks evenly and they stay really juicy. So I'm going to be using those, and also adding in 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, 1.5 tablespoons of Italian herb seasoning, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, half a tablespoon of paprika, half tablespoon garlic powder, half tablespoon onion powder, a half teaspoon of dried thyme, salt and cracked black pepper to taste, and I also like to add a little bit of the Italian bread seasoning mix. You'll be adding in about a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of cracked black pepper. So I'm going to be mixing all of the marinade together. And I'm going to go ahead and add in another tablespoon or 2 of olive oil so that way you can pour it over the chicken tenders. You'll want to evenly coat your chicken, allow it to set in the fridge while you prep the rice. Getting started on the rice, I have a yellow onion that's been chopped into smaller pieces, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, 1.5 cups of long grain white rice, 4 garlic cloves that I'm going to mince. This is 4 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to be using 2 tablespoons to cook the onions and garlic and saving the remaining 2. And a cup of hot water, and the chicken broth I'm going to be bringing to a boil. The first thing to begin the rice, in a medium pan, I'm starting to heat up 2 tablespoons of olive oil at medium-high heat, and I'm going to be adding in the yellow onion. Once you add in your onion, you're going to want to cook it down at medium-high heat for about 7 to 9 minutes. And while your onion's cooking, you'll want to bring 2 cups of chicken broth to boil on the stove. Now I'm going to be adding in my minced garlic and cooking for another 2 to 3 minutes. So you'll want to set your onions and garlic aside. Keep the same pot around because we're going to start some mushrooms next. This was a 16-ounce package of baby bella mushrooms. I'm going to be roughly slicing these and then putting them in the same pan that we used for the onions and garlic. So I'm going to be adding in my baby bella mushrooms. I just did some thin slices on these. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're just going to be adding them into the same pan, and I also added a tablespoon of butter to the same pan. Your pan will still remain on medium-high heat. I added in about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce and a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. I feel like it adds great flavor to the mushrooms. I'm going to cook those down for about 8 to 10 minutes and then proceed to add in a few more minced cloves of garlic. I'm going to cook that down for another 2 to 3 minutes, and then you can remove your mushrooms from the heat. I have my casserole dish. I'm just using a glass Pyrex dish and going to be starting with the rice, adding that to the bottom. Just make sure that it's roughly spread out evenly over the bottom of your pan. The next thing I have is the 2 cups of hot chicken broth. You do want it to be hot before adding so that way it can start to cook the rice. Just evenly start to pour that right over top. The 1 cup of hot water. Melted butter. Your remaining 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And some salt and pepper. So once all the liquid is in your casserole dish, you'll want to gently give everything a stir, just incorporating all into the rice. And then you can add in your onion and garlic and the cooked mushrooms. again, just giving everything a stir to combine. You just want to make sure that all of your ingredients are nicely coated by the liquid. You'll be adding a piece of aluminum foil on top and baking at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. And yes, I'm not adding the chicken yet because you do want to cook your rice for 30 minutes first. Since I'm using chicken breast tenders, they do tend to cook faster. So this will be placed in the oven for 30 minutes to start. So while the casserole is finishing up, I wanted to offer a vegetable that I like to pair with this. I just have some asparagus and I'm going to be cutting about 1 inch to 1.5 inches off of the stalk, and you'll want to arrange into a glass dish. So I have the trimmed asparagus here. I'm going to be lightly spraying with some avocado oil spray, just a little bit to evenly coat, going in with some garlic salt, and again I'm just kind of giving this a rough sprinkle over top, and some cracked black pepper. Are choosing to make the asparagus alongside your casserole, I'm going to be throwing this in with about 10 minutes left on the rice, and you can leave it in your oven while everything finishes off. So I just took the rice out of the oven. It's been in there for about 30 minutes with the foil on. You want to save this piece of foil because you will need it. And I'm not going to stir the rice just yet. I'm just going to be adding the chicken tenders right on top, placing back into the oven for another 20 to 30 minutes, uncovered, so that way it can bake the chicken. The chicken and rice is going back in the oven. You'll keep an eye on it, but again, about 20 to 30 minutes. Just took the chicken and rice casserole out of the oven. I'm gonna set the chicken tenders on a plate for just a minute, fluff up the rice, then you'll add the chicken back on. Using the same piece of foil, you'll wanna let everything rest covered for about 10 to 15 minutes. Two forks, I'm gonna lightly fluff everything. Once you have your rice fluffed, you can add the chicken back on top, again cover with the same piece of foil, allow to rest for about 10 to 15 minutes. And I just took my asparagus out. I like to finish off with half a lemon just right over top. So now that this has been resting, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the foil. And I like to finish this dish off with a little bit of shaved Parmesan over top, and I'm gonna do some Italian parsley as well. And there we have it, chicken, mushroom, and rice casserole. I love pre-cooking the onions and garlic in this. You can just add it in to the casserole, let everything bake with the rice, but I feel like it gives it some extra flavor if you cook it in advance. Also with the mushrooms, everything just ties in really nice. If you try this recipe out, please let me know in the comments section. I'd love to hear what you think. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.